Everybody knows that Navy Fed Platinum credit card is a great credit card. So the question is, how do you seriously apply and get approved if you have a FICO score of 580? So this is the topic I want to cover in today's conversation. Stick around till the end. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Story Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing it as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to talk to you about the Navy Fed Platinum Credit Card, how to seriously apply and get approved even if you have a FICO score minimum of 580. The first thing you need to understand is that you need to check your FICO, okay? The Navy Fed Platinum Credit Cards is issued on either the Visa or the MasterCard network, and it carries no annual fee. It's a great credit card. It carries no balance transfer fee. But if you want to get in, you first need to get to know your FICO. Now, you might be telling me, I know my FICO already. But when was the last time you checked your FICO? Because a lot of people walk around, they think they know their FICO, but they have no idea whether or not their FICO is misreported, is underestimated, or overestimated. So today, I want you to make note of the fact that you can go to TransUnion. Okay, go to transunion.com and you can check your FICO score for free. You do the same thing with Experian and the same thing with Equifax. Okay, so you have, according to Congress, there's a law that says that every year you are entitled to one free copy of your credit score and report. So you can check your credit score with all three credit bureaus: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. This is important. Don't take it lightly. Okay, so you just want to make it very, very clear. And this happens once a year. But if you want to continually monitor your credit score, you can do so through services such as Credit Karma, NerdWallet, CreditWise, and Wallet Hub. Okay, they all will help you out. You can check your credit for free once a month or once every 2 weeks, and they won't charge you. Okay. And if you want to learn more about this, we actually released 2 videos about the subject. This is a Credit Karma versus Credit Sesame versus NerdWallet versus Wallet Hub and CreditWise. That's the first video you can see on the screen. If you are interested, go read it. Go watch it rather. And then you have the second video, Credit Karma versus Experian. So we were looking for the pros and cons of each service, okay? And it's important when you look at your credit report, please check potential mistakes in terms of biography, geography. In other words, you actually you have the wrong address on your file. You want to look for mistakes in terms of employment and mistakes in terms of your payment history. Okay, do you have accounts that are still open even though they have closed them? So this is really important. And also look for signs of identity theft. Okay, if you have been a victim of identity theft, somebody opened a loan or a credit card in your name, you want to really you want to fix it as soon as possible. Let me kind of familiarize you with the card. So our goal today is basically to seriously apply and get approved for this card with a minimum of 580. So here are the card details. This is a beautiful card. Look at this, so beautiful. So here are the pros and cons of this card. The card carries no annual fee, no balance transfer fee, no foreign transaction fee, and low ongoing interest rates. Wonderful. What about the drawbacks? No promotional interest rate on purchases, no rewards program. There are longer promotional APR periods available elsewhere. But the good thing is that when you think about this card, you have an APR that goes from 5.99% to 18% variable. The card itself does not earn rewards, okay? Just remember that. And you have to have NFCU membership. This is a credit union, so you got to have membership to qualify for card holdership, okay? But this is not a problem because you don't have to be affiliated to the military to qualify for membership, okay? And you have a zero liability policy for unauthorized transactions. This is really good. We love the fact that you have 24/7 access to superior customer service, and you actually can gain free access to your FICO score. So this is really good because Navy Fed is allowing you, once you have this card, is allowing you to monitor your credit on an ongoing basis. If you use your card responsibly, they will raise your limits every 6 months, every 3 to 6 months. And one thing we love is that you're able to pile perks such as collision damage, waiver coverage, extended warranty coverage, travel and emergency assistance, and cell phone protection. Really, really good. And one thing I want to say before moving on here is that please make sure that you have your paperwork ready, because you can apply for it. You can apply for this card at a branch. You can do so online, or you can do so over the phone. But our preference, and I will speak about this later on, our preference is for you to go to the branch, but you want to have your paperwork ready. I'm speaking about your tax returns, your financial statements, your pay stubs, your W-2s, your 1099s, all that kind of stuff. Very important. And you can also co-apply for this credit card. So not a problem. If you want your partner, your spouse to co-apply with you, you can certainly do so. Make sure that she or he also has the same paperwork in terms of employment, in terms of W-2s, 1099s, and all that kind of stuff. Let me talk to you about eligibility. Are you still there? So we are still having a convo about this card, and the goal is to learn how to get the card even if you have a FICO score as low as 580, okay? Eligibility. So first of all, you got to have a credit union membership. This makes sense, right? This is a credit union. Again, you need to have a membership. You got to make at least $18,000 per year gross income. So that's about $1,500 a month. That's gross income. That's the minimum. That's the bare minimum. Now, when you have this, don't expect to have a higher credit limits, right? Because your credit limits should be in sync, should be in harmony with your income level. So the more you make, and the more financially responsible you are, the higher your credit limits. You got to have verifiable income. What I'm trying to say here is, you can be full-time, part-time, you can be a seasonal worker, it doesn't matter. You can be it doesn't matter. You need to be able to verify the income. So Navy Fed in some cases would want to call your employer or have a letter of employment verification from the employer that shows that you are indeed working there, okay? And if you're paid, you can have direct deposit, you can be paid in cash, it doesn't matter, but they just need to verify the source of funds. And as you can see on the screen, you can pre-qualify for this card with no impact to your credit, okay? But you've got to be a member first, okay? And also the card accepts average to excellent credit, as you can see on screen. So the FICO or Vantage score requirement goes from 580 to 850, okay, in terms of eligibility. And in terms of eligibility, also you need to have proof of employment. So I said this before. So W-2s, 1099, pay stubs, and in some cases your tax returns, your 1040 for the last 3 years. Those will qualify as acceptable documents to verify your employment. Okay, and the maximum limit on this credit card is $25,000. Although we have several clients who have gotten more than $75,000 in credit limits, but they all are customers of the Wealth Management Group at Navy Fed. Okay, so I guess the credit limit has to do, besides your credit score, with the size of your monetary assets at Navy Fed and other institutions. So they look at a constellation of factors to set your credit limits, and this is not just about your credit score, but the higher your score and the more stable you are financially speaking, the higher your credit limit, and that makes sense. Let me quickly talk to you about your finances. If you want to qualify for this credit card, if you have a low FICO and your goal is to qualify for this credit card, you want to pay attention to your finances. And there are two quintessential elements that you have to pay attention to when we talk about your finances. Okay, the first one is your DTI, your debt to income ratio. This is very simple. This is a fraction. Okay, so on top you have the amount of money you allocate to debt servicing, and at the bottom, in the denominator, you have your income. So for example, let's say you make $10,000 a month, right? And out of that $10,000, you take $4,000 and you allocate that to debt servicing, to your different liabilities. What will happen is your DTI will be 40%. You take 4,000 divided by 10,000. That's 0.4 times 100. That's 40%. Now, 40% experts will tell you is not really healthy. You want to aim for 30% or 35%, but 30% is a sweet spot. So the lower your DTI, the better. And you want to have that before you apply for this Navy Fed Platinum credit card, because Navy Fed is going to do they have their own algorithm, they have their own internal calculation, so they will actually go into your file to make sure that you have a DTI that is reasonable, that falls within the range that is acceptable to the credit union. Very important. So DTI 30%, 35%. And when we talk about the income here, this is gross income, okay? Gross income, pre-tax income. So the first criterion to pay attention to is DTI. The second criterion is your credit utilization ratio, what we call the CUR. Okay, this is important also, and this applies to your revolving lines of credit, your revolving lines of credit, your revolving credit cards included. Okay, so you also want to aim for 30% to 35%. So the bottom line is, when we talk about DTI and CUR, you want to aim for 1/3. So if, for instance, you have on all your credit cards, you have a total credit limits of $10,000, you want to have outstanding on those cards a maximum of 3,300 or 3,500. So that's about 33% or 35%. That will make you look, I would say, acceptable as a risk profile to Navy Fed. This is important, okay? So this is really good, and this will help you get the credit card you need. Credit card. This is why we're here. I want to give you the tools that you need to be unstoppable when you apply for credit cards, including the Navy Fed Platinum credit card, okay? And you also want to have, they might want to look into your bank statements as well as your financial statements. Let me talk to you about timing. One thing that's very important is that if you want to get the Navy Fed Platinum credit card and you have a low FICO, you got to be very careful about timing. First of all, let me ask you a question. What is the number of NFCU credit cards you currently have? Do you have 2, 3? Because NFCU they have an unwritten and unpublished rule that says that they want to limit their credit cards to 3 per individual. Okay, so if you currently have 3 credit cards, then you really want to use those cards responsibly and get a credit limit increase instead of applying for a new credit card. Okay, so what was the timing of your last increase? When was the last time they actually bumped up your credit limits? This is important because you got to wait at least 3 to 6 months before applying for a new credit card or applying for a new credit limit increase. So you got to be patient. You got to space out your requests, because all of those requests are credit requests, and in some cases they might result in a hard pull, and we don't want that, right? The whole thing is you are trying to make sure that your FICO, your skinny FICO, becomes as fat as possible. Okay, this is important. And do you have other liabilities accounts with the Navy Fed? This is something you need to pay attention to. Do you have other accounts? Because Navy Fed is looking at you as an element of exposure. In other words, the more debt you carry, the more scared they are, because something happens to you, they're going to lose a lot of cash. So if they already have auto loans with you, they have student loans with you, they have personal loans with you, and now you are trying to apply for a credit card, think about it. That's a lot of debt concentrated on one person. Okay, so you want to think about the other liabilities you have, because it's all about money. It's all about money. In other words, if you have a lot of debts, right? But you have your cash inflows are good. You have a very vibrant balance sheet. You don't have a lethargic statement or cash flow. That you can actually get the credit card that you need, because you can actually apply when you have a better financial status. Let's say you got a raise at work, you got promoted, you got a new job altogether, or you've seen an increase in your FICO. Those could be elements that could motivate you to apply for this Navy Fed Platinum credit card, even if you have a low FICO, because your financial situation, your cash position would have been stronger by the time you applied, and that will help Navy Fed look at you as a healthy risk, as a positive risk. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Story Kiwi Show. We're actually having a conversation today about the Navy Fed Platinum credit card, and I'm giving you some tips and tricks on how to apply for this card, even if you have a FICO score of 580. Okay, now let me give you a few pro tips. I want to give you a few pro tips here. The first thing you need to do is you want to keep your documents in order. Whether you applied at a branch, or you applied over the phone, or you applied online, you want to have some documents ready. Your W-2s, your 1040s for the last 3 years, okay? Your financial statements, your 1099s, your bank statements. You want to keep those in order. You can keep them on the cloud. You can keep them on a USB key drive. You can keep them manually, physically in the house, in a closet, whatever. Okay, but the goal is you gotta have some kind of a basic bookkeeping process in place so that when Navy Fed asks you, if they request from you to provide all the data, you can just send it to them. Okay, and you also want to maintain good credit. Even if you currently have 580 or 590 or 600, doesn't matter. You still have to be financially responsible. You want to stick to certain financially healthy routines that will help you bump up over time your credit score. It's really important. So you want to constantly check your credit score. You want to make sure that you are staying within the healthy band in terms of 35% for the DTI and 30% for the CUR. Very important. You want to demonstrate sufficient cash flow. It's all about, at the end of the day, for lenders. I mean, lenders care about your employment. They care about the nice stories you have. You know, I have 20 years experience. I do this. I got to raise whatever. But what they care about mostly is to be repaid. They are advancing money to you, and their job is to get the cash back. Whether the cash was advanced to you on a credit card or was advanced to you on a personal loan. So the goal here is to make sure that you can demonstrate sufficient cash flow, cash inflow, folks. You want to follow the money. Follow the money. Okay. At the end of the day, that's what really matters. You know, they care about everything else, your credit score, all that, but they just want to be repaid. And you need to make sure that you make enough money to repay whatever limits, whatever outstanding balance you have on your credit card. So please demonstrate that, okay? And you also need to ask yourself whether or not you can afford the monthly payments or the minimum amounts due every month, okay? I mean, Navy Fed, with this Navy Fed Platinum credit card, the minimum balance due is very small, but nobody will tell you, nobody healthy enough mentally, that is, will tell you to only pay the minimum balance, because that's going to derail your financial stability. You want to pay more, and the best is to pay everything, to pay the balance in full if you can. Before we close today's conversation, I just wanted to quickly give you some comparison between this card and two other cards that are similar. And because when we speak about the Navy Fed Platinum credit card, people talk a lot about the City Double Cash card, and we just thought we would be doing a small, very quick comparison here. So if you're looking for a balance transfer credit card that has staying power long after a balance transfer is over, you want to look to a card like the City Double Cash card, because this card earns 2% cash back on all purchases, 1% when purchases are made, and another 1% when they are paid off. Okay, so think about it. If that works for you, then go ahead and do it. The card has an annual fee of $0 and comes with an intro APR of 0% for 18 months. Think about it. And after that, the standard variable APR will be 13%, $13.99 to $23.99% based on your credit worthiness. There is also an intro balance transfer fee of either $5 or 3% of the amount of each transfer, whichever is greater. Okay, so you got to complete this balance transfer within the first 4 months of account opening. This is really important. Okay, and so if your credit is strong, you may be approved for a higher limit. Let's talk about the Navy Fed versus the U.S. Bank Visa Platinum card. So if you're looking for a longer runway to pay off a big purchase or shed existing debt, the U.S. Bank Visa Platinum card could be a top-notch choice. We have actually reviewed this card on another show. And so this no annual fee card has one of the strongest and longest transfer offers you will find. Check this out. You have 0% intro APR on purchases and balance transfers for, guess what, 20 billion cycles. That's just wonderful. 20 billion cycles. Okay. And this was followed by a regular variable APR of 14%, 14.99% to 14.49% to 24.49%. So this is really good. So and this is really, really good. So if you are in the market for a balance transfer card, this is really nice. So big decision time. Talk to me right now. Talk to me. Is the card for you? Is the Navy Fed Platinum card for you? Well, this card could be a worthy option for anyone with average credit on the hunt for a balance transfer card. But if your overall credit profile is strong, you want to look to a card that offers a longer introductory period, or one that you will want to use long after the promo APR offer expires. And this is not the case for the Navy Fed Platinum credit card. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. I was talking to you today about how to actually get approved for the Navy Fed Platinum credit card. And if you have a FICO of a 580 And first, I explained to you that you need to check your FICO to make sure it is accurate. You need to understand the card details. You need to check eligibility, your financial situation, the timing, and I give you a few pro tips, and I just compared this card with other credit cards. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. I will speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.